Right now, you are probably alone. Maybe not in the room, but alone in the way that matters. No one is watching you. No one is listening for you. And your body doesn't like it. It never has. You call it peace and quiet. Your nervous system calls it something else entirely. It calls it danger. For most of human history, being physically separated from your group for more than a few hours was one of the most dangerous things that could happen to you. Not lonely, dangerous. And the strange part is, your brain still hasn't gotten the memo that things have changed. Think about the last time you were home alone at night. The house creaks. You turn up the volume on the TV, not because you're missing the dialogue, but because the silence feels wrong. You check the lock on the door twice. You leave a light on, even though you know exactly what's in every room. Why? The answer isn't in your childhood. It's in your species. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens lived in small, tightly bonded groups, usually somewhere between 25 and 50 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying the size of primate social groups and human communities, and he found something remarkable. The number of stable relationships a human brain can meaningfully track tops out around 150. But the people you'd actually trust with your life, the ones inside your innermost circle, that number is much smaller. Usually 5, sometimes fewer. That inner circle wasn't optional. It was survival infrastructure. A lone human on the ancient savanna was not a free spirit. A lone human was prey. Predators didn't need to be faster or stronger than an entire group. They only needed to catch you when you'd wandered off from it. Every early human who felt comfortable being isolated, who didn't feel that itch of wrongness and solitude, was statistically more likely to die before passing on their genes. The ones who survived were the ones whose bodies screamed at them to get back to the group. That scream didn't go away. It's still inside you. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent much of his career studying loneliness, not as a feeling, but as a biological state. He found that social isolation triggers the same physiological stress response as physical threat. Cortisol rises, blood pressure climbs, inflammation increases. Sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented because a body that is truly alone cannot afford to fully rest. Someone has to stay half awake to listen for danger. In the ancestral world, that job fell to whoever was separated from the group. You inherited that job, even when there is no danger at all. This is why isolation doesn't just feel emotionally unpleasant. It feels physically unsafe. Your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for detecting threat, doesn't distinguish well between "I am alone in my apartment" and "I am alone on the plains 300,000 years ago." As far as your oldest neural circuitry is concerned, alone has only ever meant one thing: vulnerable. So you fill the silence. You put on a podcast just to hear a voice. You check your phone not because you expect anything important, but because the small dopamine hit mimics the feeling of social contact. Notifications function, in a strange evolutionary sense, like a distant sound in the grass. Something is out there. Something is paying attention to you. Here's where it gets stranger. Researchers studying hunter-gatherer societies that still exist today, like the Hadza of Tanzania, have found something that modern life almost never replicates. Around Hadza campfires, conversation isn't primarily about survival logistics. It's storytelling, gossip, jokes. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner recorded and analyzed hours of Hadza conversation and found that daytime talk tends to focus on practical matters, but nighttime talk, the talk that happens around fire in the dark, in proximity, shifts overwhelmingly toward stories, myths, shared history, laughter. Why does this matter? Because firelight conversation wasn't entertainment. It was bonding infrastructure. It reinforced who belonged to the group, who could be trusted, and it did this every single night for the entire history of your species until extremely recently. You don't have that anymore? Not really. Modern life is the first period in human history where a person can go an entire day, sometimes several days, without a single moment of real, present, face-to-face connection. You can order food without speaking to anyone, work without leaving your desk, scroll through hundreds of faces without your nervous system registering a single one as safe, because a face on a screen doesn't trigger the same neurochemical response as a face in a room. Your ancestors' brains never had to solve this problem because it never existed. There was no version of prehistoric life where you were surrounded by information about other humans without being near any of them. So your body reacts the way it always has. It flags the absence. It raises the alarm quietly, persistently, in the form of restlessness, low mood, that vague, anxious hum some people describe as something feels off, without being able to say what. It isn't a malfunction. It's an ancient alert system doing exactly what it was built to do in a world it was never built for. This is why the loneliness epidemic that public health researchers have been documenting for years isn't simply a modern mental health trend. It's a mismatch. A biological system tuned by hundreds of thousands of years of group living suddenly dropped into a species-wide experiment in physical isolation, digital substitution, and solitary living arrangements that would have been almost unthinkable for most of human history. And your body is still trying to fix it the only way it knows how, by making solitude feel bad enough that you go looking for people. So the next time you feel that pull, the itch to text someone for no reason, the relief of simply being in a room with another person even if you don't talk much, the specific comfort of overhearing a conversation in a coffee shop, understand what's actually happening. That isn't weakness. That isn't overdependence. That is 300,000 years of evolutionary programming, correctly identifying that you are a social animal who is never designed to do this alone. Right now, you might still be alone in the room, but you don't have to be alone in the way that matters. Because somewhere, whether you reach for it or not, is the same thing your ancestors reached for around every fire that has ever been lit. Someone else's voice, someone else's presence. Proof that you are still part of something. And that need was never a flaw in you. It's the oldest, most reliable signal you have.